What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the North Leeds Jitz podcast, the biannual podcast we do to keep you guys updated and provide some entertainment for our members at the academy. Mike, thanks for being here.
Well, thanks for inviting me, T. It feels like it's a biannual. It shouldn't be. In fact, we spoke about this the other day. This is something that we want to bring back. One of the members asked us, like, when you're doing the podcast again. We'll probably get into it, mate, around a lot of other things we want to talk about, but it's just been such a crazy, busy start to the year. Well, the last year, really, for us. Lots of different things happening has meant that, unfortunately, the podcast has had to take a back seat. It's not dead. It will be resurrected, but it's just had to take a back seat for a while.
Yeah, I think we did talk about this a little bit, maybe a year ago or something.
We did the last one.
Yeah. But yeah, I think the main thing there is, as many people who have businesses as well will know, when things are busy, content and marketing are usually the type of things that get pushed till tomorrow, and then again tomorrow, because it's usually the easiest fire to push till the next day, because it doesn't oftentimes have an immediate impact, but long term we think it's really beneficial, and I think most people feel it's beneficial too, because we keep hearing about it.
Yeah. It's funny you said about business being busy. I think just as a slight aside, I don't want to politicise this in any way, but it has been really difficult for businesses, hasn't it? I think probably, until you just mentioned it there, I hadn't really thought why we hadn't done this, other than we've been busy. I think it's not just been busy, it's been really difficult. Lots of changes, new government, business has been really hard. And I think also the other thing is, I imagine, certainly when I trained in an academy and didn't own one, I never saw that place as a business. I saw it as a place that I turned up to train. It's like, well, it's just there, it's the academy, right? We just go and train. But behind the scenes, particularly of an academy of this scale, it is a big business to run, and it takes a lot of effort, a lot of work from a lot of people, right? So, yeah, it's been a tough time, but we're pushing through, aren't we? And we're starting to actually see, which is really exciting. We talked about this last week, you and I. Some really lovely green shoots of our hard work over the last year. Things are starting to change for us.
Yeah, I think just like in Jiu-Jitsu, you have those periods where you get new challenges and you have to really spend some time to focus and level up to get through those challenges. It's very similar in business. I think what all of us as a team have had to dig deep to upskill ourselves and look at what we do to be able to get over the hurdles and challenges of growing as a bigger business. And,
it never goes like this, does it? In Jiu-Jitsu, it often goes like this. I think in business, it fucking goes like this. And you hope at the end of the period of time that you end up a bit further forward than you were. I mean, we track a lot of metrics, as you would expect around the business, but I suppose for anyone listening, the main one is the member numbers. That just tells you the scale of this academy. I mean, I was chatting to the other day, someone was saying, it was James Francis Frost, who interestingly is joining the business. Remember, we can talk about that in a little bit. About which is the biggest academy in the UK? Do you know? Is it Rogers, do you think?
Rogers, there is Tom Bracker, I think, in Sutton Coldfield has a big school.
Do you know what the numbers are for those guys, member numbers?
I mean, I heard reportedly, whether you believe it, I'm not sure, but he had said he had about 1,000 students there.
Wow.
Hodges, I think, was getting close to 1,000 last we spoke to him, didn't he?
Yeah. And our ambition is to be the most successful, the biggest, right? So we're just short of 600. So that tells you kind of, and that's in 5 years, which is amazing. So, we're well on track to doing that. I think we need to just keep pushing and keep making the change we need to make. Right, so
should we get into some important topics?
Well, yeah, I think just linked to that, mate, let's dive straight in. I think the most important thing and one of the reasons why we wanted to do this podcast today, you'll have received or will be receiving within the next minute or two, a WhatsApp message and an email explaining some of the changes we're making to our pricing structure at the academy. We'll get into why we're doing that in a moment, but fundamentally, we are matching the kids' pricing across all of the main program areas, and Professor T will talk about that in a second. But ultimately, we're lifting kids' pricing by £10 a month, and we're lifting adult prices by £5 a week. And linked back to what we just said at the beginning of the podcast, like there's reasons for that. This isn't just, to make more money, because this business surprisingly doesn't make that much money. But it's about us being able to continue to do what we do really, really well, to continue to invest in the things that we want to invest in, and to create that ability to grow into the future, right? But it's also, I think, in recognition of the real tough challenges that we've faced in this business. As I said earlier, it's been difficult for every business in the UK, particularly small businesses. And what we've done at GBRL, without really realising it, and this is a challenge for a business like this, T, if we're being honest, right? Like, it's a heart and a head thing all the time. In your head, you're thinking, well, we need to make more money because, it's a business. We want to live well. We want to feed our families. We want to go on holiday and everything else. But in your heart, you're like, well, we really care about our students. And we're driven by the mission to give jiu-jitsu to everyone and to help. And you're constantly in this kind of position between the two. And I think unwittingly what we've done, and we've looked at the numbers, and we'll share it with you in the document that you're going to get on email and WhatsApp, is we've basically our pricing's tracked inflation for the last 5 years. So in effect, we've not put our prices up at all. We didn't realise that was the case until we looked at it. We raised our prices once, right, in the last 5 years, and that was in January 2024. We committed to not raising prices for current members until January 2026 for adults, and we've committed to that, and we're just going to stick to that. But it's been difficult. All the additional costs of the NI increase and the rate increase and everything else, we've just absorbed as a business. And we can't continue to do that. So that's kind of the main reason why we're changing the prices at this time. We're going to do it in phases, and we're going to change our pricing for new members from the 1st of July. So if you're listening to this and you're a current member, that won't affect you. That's happening on the 1st of July. Prices for kids will change on the 1st of September. So there's a 2-month discounted period for current members. And then in January 2026, pricing will change for adults. That's the biggest price change. It's £5 a week or £20 a month. So that's the kind of headline, I suppose. I suppose that's a bit of rationale of why we're doing it. I suppose the other thing to say is, linked back to that ambition to keep growing this academy, we want to keep investing in it. We want to create this world-class environment for everybody with a team that can support and manage the scale that we want to get to, and that costs money at the end of the day. And it can't keep coming out of the business bank account. We've got to find a way to make that work. So that's the kind of headlines. Do you want to talk a little bit about why we've decided to price match the kids?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think our kids program is absolutely phenomenal. And I think that's reflected by a lot of what people say about us on like Google reviews and things like that. So honestly, I think we could easily be charging £99, £100 a month for our kids program, especially when you look at the costs of something like a good swimming place. If you're teaching your kids how to swim, might be like £25 a session. Might be, if you look at what jiu-jitsu is actually giving kids, I think I saw a statistic the other day. It's about 200,000 kids in the UK miss a day of school every day because of bullying reported reasons. Mm-hmm. So on that level, think about how much a tutor would be, or how much a child psychologist after a kid's being bullied. Like, that's going to be like £100 a session for that. So I think actually the value we give to our kids program is immense. But around the actual reasons we price matched it was because, just in fairness really, because right now as it currently stands as of today, if you are an LC2 student moving to juniors, you'd have the same price increase anyway. So as soon as you turn 10, you have that same price increase. But because of the older students at juniors and teens, in terms of like the cost to us as a business to put on juniors and teens class, it is significantly less than for LC1, LC2.
We've kind of got it the wrong way around.
Yeah. Yeah, LC1, I was LC1 class the day, we were working at basically a 2-to-1 ratio. For kids, that's a private session, essentially. So for me, like the main reason was around price matching so that everyone is fair. One of the reasons back in the day we had juniors and teens is a little bit longer is because they start it was actually a juniors and teens class then. It was an hour session, but we've brought everyone down to meet at the 45-minute mark. And now it just seemed fair that everyone had the same price going through your whole journey at Jiu-Jitsu rather than having a strange price increase when you just turn 10 or 11. So that's the main reason. But I think on the back of that as well, you've also got like so many improvements to the kids program. We've got a new curriculum that has seen much faster development for the kids. We've got more coaching staff than ever. We've got the JLP Plus program, which means that we've invested a lot of money into bringing our teen students in and paying them to actually help out, which means that the level of service, I'm sure the parents have noticed, I'm sure that, the coaches, the lead coaches on the mats have definitely noticed because they've told us multiple times now how much better those junior coaches are with interacting and providing support to the kids on the mat. We're really pushing to have monthly or as close to monthly community events for kids as well. So that's things like Champions Party Night, holiday camps. We've just trialled our first birthday party. And for parents to have access to all of these things they've been asking about for a long time, again, like still has a factor for us in the business, even if it's Soaps is 10 hours a week she has to spend thinking about these things.
Oh, it costs them money.
Yeah. Before they even can go out as a message to parents. It has a big cost, both in focus and in time, before we actually ever even put something on. So there's loads of reasons why our kids program has got so much better in the last, obviously since we started, but even especially this year and especially in the last 2 years, we've had some amazing improvements. And I guess on a basic economic level, on a supply and demand curve, we have too much demand for the supply we can give right now. Our classes we've had to cap classes because they're getting
Well, we didn't have to, but we chose to.
We chose to cap classes because we felt with the amount of people and new inquiries we're getting in, like the quality of class would have dropped if we just added more kids in. So we've had to add into a lot of waiting lists, especially in our LC2 and Tiny Champions programs. And we're trying to also create more capacity, as well as do things like price increases. But that's just the nature of business. It's supply and demand, and we could have, instead of theoretically, we could have just said, okay, well, we'll add in an extra 15 kids into the class, but then the quality would have dropped a lot. I don't think that would have been the right thing to do, really.
No, I want to just pick up on a couple of things. First thing to say is, I challenge anyone to, if you're wondering, because maybe you've never trained anywhere else, but just go and have a look at some of the other providers around Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in the world and try and find a kids program as comprehensive as this in terms of the amount of classes we offer across the days of the week and the progressions within that. And you won't find anywhere else that does what we do,
especially in age categories.
Yeah,
no one breaks it down to.
No,
I think with you've got Tiny Champs, LC1, LC2, juniors, teens. You've got LC2 Advanced, Juniors Advanced, Teens Advanced. You've got Dev Squad, Comp Team, and I think there's one more that I'm forgetting here. But that's 10 different kids programs that we run that require 10 different coaching staff, 10 different curriculums.
Yeah. And the curriculums that we use, of course, are based around the Gracie Barra global curriculum. We're going to talk about the curriculum later when we talk about GB Online, so do stick around because that's really exciting and another bit of added value. Not a bit, a massive bit of added value we're giving to all members soon. But you've worked really hard to develop and enhance our curriculum, right? So, and we'll talk about coaches in a little bit and how we do that with the coaches. But this has been a process over the last 5 years of us really striving to create, particularly around our kids program, a world-class offering. So my point around perhaps you've never trained anywhere else, I suppose you might look at this business and think, or this academy and think, well, that's normal. it's just not normal. And I suppose you'd expect me to say that. You expect us as the business owners to say that. I suppose one objective view you might take our word on is the fact we were inducted into the Legacy Hall of Fame in Gracie Barra recently at the Global Summit in Portugal. You've seen that stuff. There's over 1,000 schools in Gracie Barra across the world, and we were one of 3 schools inducted into the Legacy Hall. And certainly the school that had been around the least amount of time to be inducted. And that is recognition from a global level at Gracie Barra that we are different, and we're pushing the boundaries on what is possible for jiu-jitsu and really living that jiu-jitsu for everyone value, which we share and we live behind, stand behind. So we are trying to do things really different. The ratios is interesting because you look at the NSPCC guidance around age groups for ratios, it's about 6 to 1 in that LC1, LC2, and then of course it scales out as the kids get older. But quite often you'll see much more than I, but even when I'm cutting around some of the kids' classes, you regularly got a 3 to 1, a 2 to 1, a 4 to 1 ratio. Very rarely do we run to a 6, to 1 ratio. So again, from a values point of view, we hope you see that, and we hope that that really has an impact on your child's development. And the final thing I wanted to say, and you mentioned it around at the very beginning, mate, and you made the analogy of the swimming lessons, which of course parents pay a lot of money for because it's a life-saving skill. I've said for decades, jiu-jitsu is a life-saving skill. And I don't think there's many things you could put you on as a father of 2 teenage boys who've been through the whole, system of after-school curriculum stuff. They've done everything, right? As you do as parents, you give them absolutely everything. I don't think there's anything like jiu-jitsu that ticks up as many boxes. From a skill, an ability to connect with other people, from leadership to confidence to self-development to health and fitness and mobility across all modalities, I think it's unrivaled. So if you're going to put your money anywhere, as a parent, if I was going to put my money anywhere, and I did, I would put it into my kids going to jiu-jitsu pretty much before anything else. And so for 79 quid a month, 74 quid a month, it's not a lot of money, really.
Yeah. Okay, well, do you want to talk any more about the adults program?
All I would say with the adults is, again, just reflect back. If you've been here for any amount of time, you'll have seen the changes we made to the academy. Not only the facilities, we've just redone the men's change rooms, of course, we're just about to finish that off, but the full heating system that we've put in and changed. We've just put a new roof on this year. That cost us thousands and thousands of pounds to do, to make sure in the winter we stay watertight for the first time in 5 years, because it used to rain in a lot of the rooms here. We have obviously advanced all our curriculums. GB3, GB2 classes in the morning, classes 6 days a week, 7 days a week now for adults. We'd like to make sure that's 7 days a week every week, and that's something we want to do for the kids as well. So we're open every single day. So again, we made a promise to those adult members who were with us in January 2024 that their pricing wouldn't change for 2 years, and we stick by that. So no one's going to have the price change until January 2026, but anyone joining the academy from the 1st of July will pay £125 a month, which again is a lot of money. You get jiu-jitsu cheaper in Leeds, for sure. There are academies down in London now, £250 a month. That's kind of like, good world-class academy, that's what you pay. So I think we're at the right price point for now, and let's see what we can get to in the next 5 years.
Yeah. What I was going to say is we're not short on ideas to make this place better oftentimes as well, in terms of what we want to invest to make this place even better. But sometimes it feels like we're a little bit short on the resources and we're trying to hook and crook and find ways. But what we can definitely say for sure is the improvements we've made so far, even on the last 6 months, whether our people say they feel it or not, on a pure mathematical data level, people are staying longer with us.
Yeah.
Significantly more so. So last year, people, if you like a bit of maths, you can probably try and work out our member numbers that Mike said earlier. And we churned at 5.3% monthly. And now we're closer to about 3.3%, which it doesn't sound like too much difference. That's like almost half as less people leaving as were before, which is a massive improvement, and it's currently tracking like that, you know. So in terms of quality of service, whether people say they feel it or not, the numbers don't lie. It's like in terms of actually how people behave, it's like much less people. Well, I'll put it like this: people are staying for much longer now.
Yeah, which is a great thing, isn't it? I mean, ultimately, we want people to stay as long as possible. We have a one of our goals is to have 50 homegrown black belts. We've got one, and he's sitting right here, but we want 50 at least from our adults program. I mean, I'd love to see the day when we can tie a black belt around one of the kids' waists who've been with us for 10 plus years. It will be a pretty special moment. And recognition for their hard work and your investment in your child and what wonderful people will be. So yeah, I think people are staying for longer. We're growing as an academy. It's a positive thing, but to get to where we want to be in the future and to continue to make those changes, those developments, those improvements, then we need to invest again. So I hope you'll understand that. I hope you will stick with us and you will continue to be a part of the GBRL journey as we move into the next phase.
Anything you want to tackle next?
Not particularly.
All right, well, I think maybe working well is the coaches workshop.
That was good, wasn't it?
It was good, and I think it ties in nicely to our price increase, because the coaching is getting significantly better here, and the amount of resources and the amount of investment we're being putting in this year to develop those coaches is being significant, right?
Yeah, well, we pay for something called the ICP integration. So this is the first kind of piece, really. So all of our lead coaches must be certified by Gracie Barra globally. And that is a course that's about a 40-hour course. It's like, someone said to me recently, it's like, this is like a BTEC in Jiu-Jitsu, right? And it's a long course. We do this annually. It changes every single year. And all of our lead coaches do. And we pay a lot of money for everybody to be able to do that.
But before you can even do that course, you have to do a foundations course as well.
You have to do a foundations course, and then you have to do the full ICP. So this is the instructor certification program, right? And this makes sure that on a level, all of our coaches are trained to a level which is acceptable globally by Gracie Barra, the brand, right? So that's the first thing that we do. But of course, being GBRL, we go a lot further than that.
Yeah, so the coaches are getting better every day. I like to think we're getting better at being able to step into those roles of leading and developing those coaches as well. And that's been happening for both the JLP a lot this year, a couple of times this year already, and last year. And then just started our first, for a while, like adults coaches workshop. We did try and do it earlier in the year, but getting 40 or so adults together on any particular day is very difficult.
I mean, even just that, right? So just think about that for a moment. Just think about this in scale of business terms, right? That's 40 members of staff, right? That's a big business. That's a big business. A business that would be on paper turning over, millions to have 30, 40 staff. So we got 40 coaches that we obviously pay every single week to come and coach to make sure that those ratios are there. One thing I did want to say before we talk about the detail of the coaches workshop, if you were wondering what it takes to be a lead coach here, well, of course, it's a long process, right? You've got to do your ICP, you've got to do your first aid, you've got to do your DBS check. That's the first thing. And then there's a process of, I don't know, a minimum of 2 to 3 months of that coach shadowing a lead coach. So I've got one of our coaches or budding lead coaches shadowing me at the moment. And it's a process of development that takes time, right?
Yeah.
So they shadow, they help out, then we start to give them a little bits of things to deliver in the classes. But it's a slow process. It's not like we throw people in, say, go deliver a class. That's never going to happen. So it takes time, it takes investment, again, it takes money. But this weekend we had 18, I think, coaches come in for this coaches workshop. We did it here on Saturday afternoon. They all gave up their time. It was boiling, if you remember. You might have been sat in the garden. We were all in here. And we did like some practical workshops around the GBRL mission and our values and our cultural behaviours that we decided as an inner circle leadership team at Gracie Bar around Leeds that we were going to live. And we shared those with the coaches. And then we went to some almost presentational style. You ran a session around talking about some practical tips to help the coaches based on some of the learnings that we'd discovered over the last 6 months. And then we rounded out with a bit of a Q&A. What were some of the changes that, or some of the pieces of information that you passed across those coaches? Can you remember?
Well, a lot of it was about, we've created a lot of resources for them. So yes, they have the ICP, but now they've got essentially a proper onboarding process, a document to be able to work from, so they can know exactly what they're doing at any one point at any class of any age group. And so far, what we'd been doing, you'd learn on the job. You'd be shadowing another assistant coach for a week or two. You'd get thrown into it, which was fine when we were really small, because it's like it would just be me, you, and one other assistant coach, and then one more, and we'd kind of build it slowly. We'd have a lot of hands-on. But then when we've exploded out our kids' timetable and the other timetables, and we've got different roles to fill, they don't get the same kind of hands-on support. So we had to find a way to standardize the training and development for all the coaches. Mm-hmm. So that came with like creating this guidebook, our own mini ICP basically, and creating that standardized process. It's about creating different frameworks for the lead coaches to work from as well, so that they can always deliver great opening and ending class messages. They can always award promotions and recognitions in a similar fashion. They can deliver their demonstration pieces when they're actually, and the kids are on the technique line and they're demonstrating the moves. They can do that in a standardized fashion. Not so much that we're like crushing them with systems and rules to follow, but hopefully enough to keep, it's like the discipline that gives them the freedom to express themselves in their own unique coaching styles and personalities.
It's standards, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
We've got high standards here. We have a rigorous process of identifying and nurturing and developing those coaches so that everyone in the academy gets a similar level of service but at the same time, I mean, this was an important point we made at the end of the workshop, those systems aren't there to suppress, they're there to create an ability for those coaches to really, put their own personality into it, because everyone's different, and we're very, very grateful.
Yeah. One of the big things is we actually did a ton of work on this end of last year, which is like our positive discipline process as well. But we didn't probably do a great job in terms of actually implementing it and getting the coaches bought in and really fully understanding the process, just because we were so stretched ourselves. But now I think with these documents out there and they're well understood, and we've got more capacity to continue developing the coaches, we can see what a lot of parents bring their kids here for is to be able to help them with their discipline. And nothing, I think, annoys other parents. Parents more when they see their kid messing around in class. And the parents are always harshest on their own kid. But yeah, the coaches can all work from like a standardized framework there to know a very like fair and clear way to deal with kids that are being a little bit disruptive, to make sure classes for all the students move on in a nice orderly fashion.
I think it's probably one of the main reasons a parent chooses to bring the child to a provision like this. It is to help develop them into really good members of society. It's at the very heart of what we do. We can't forget this. We are a martial art, and those martial arts behaviours are the things that we want to. It's why we run our own values-based curriculum, right? Like that is something that you created, which sits alongside the main Gracie Bar curriculum. The values-led curriculum is ours. It's not a global thing. No one else does it. But it's there to reward children and remind them of some of those key behaviours that we want them to deliver. I think the next coaches workshop we've already discussed will be more around, and it was a point that one of our coaches, Emily, raised in the coaches workshop around, how can we better support children with neurodiversity And we have a lot of children with individual needs and individual challenges that we want to make sure we can provide best-in-class service for. So you might or might not know this, but Soaps, one of our academy managers, spent a decade in the teaching profession in a private school, so has a lot of experience when it comes to education and is really well placed to help us speak to children in the right way and create the right positive outcomes for children. So we're going to have Soaps work with all our coaches in the next coaches workshop to give them some kind of really high level professional tips on getting the most out of every child, regardless of the situation. And the final thing I wanted to say really is a huge thank you to all our coaches, because whilst we pay our coaches, and of course we look after them that way, and we do workshops for them, we take them out for dinner, and we make sure they feel valued, it is a vocation. You know, these people are giving up their time, often at times which are really challenging around their own business commitments and their own family time. And they do that to give back to the community so they can help your child. So please support them. Please be grateful for them as we are. And coaches, if you're listening, we appreciate you. Well done.
Something else that we've been celebrating recently was, as an academy, we made a decision to sponsor one of the coaches, Sam, right?
Yeah, he's got a fight on Saturday. Sam Hewitt, you'll know him if you are one of the adults. He kind of leads on our Nogi programme, one of the children as well. He's a very well-liked kids coach, mainly because he's a big kid himself. But he fights professionally, and probably is the most active competitor we've got in the academy, certainly at that level. And we wanted to find a way to try and help Sam, live his dream. And it's just a way for us to give back, really. So if you hear of one of his fights coming up, please buy some tickets, go support him. And it's a real privilege to be able to help someone live the dream.
We've got the summer gathering coming up.
Yeah. Do you know about this? You should know about this. Maybe you saw the video of me with my garland on the other day. Tell you all about it. It's the 12th of July, Saturday the 12th. If you've never been to a summer gathering before, this is what you can expect. So we group our kids in age groups together in the morning. So usually, are we doing Tiny Champs and LC1? Or
Tiny Champs will be separate, and then it'll be LC1 and LC2.
Great. So Tiny Champs separate, LC1, LC2, juniors and teens. In blocks, you'll come in with your child. We always ask, if possible, to just have one parent per child, because it gets very busy. But this is a day of celebration, right? So we'll have some fun, some jiu-jitsu on the mats. And the nice thing about that for some of the kids is they will be on the mats with kids they've never been on the mats with before. So it's a chance to train together, particularly for those younger kids, because they get to see these bigger kids that they look up to, which is cool. And then we provide a load of cake, so we fill the kids full of cake. You grab some as well, parents. And really it's just a celebration. There'll be some promotions, some big belt promotions, usually on those days. And that's the whole morning. And then at 12 o'clock, the adults will come in. I usually run a seminar for that, but you're going to do it this year, which is really exciting. I'll learn a few things for sure. That usually lasts for 2 hours, and then we also promote some of the belt promotions that have been, about to happen in the last few months. So that's really exciting. It's a day of celebration, really. It's a chance for everyone to come together as a community as well.
Yeah, for parents especially, I think, because we usually don't allow parents to hit like makeup sessions or change their days without letting us know that that's something they want to do formally. They might not know that it is for everyone, whether you train on a Saturday or not. If you only train Monday, Wednesday, and your kid is being maybe due or seems like they're due a belt, and you're wondering why they've not been given it, it's because we tend to like hold off for about a month beforehand to make sure that they can receive their belt in this like big celebration where they get to be amongst as many of their peers as possible. So, do come down, do support. That's one of the reasons we do that, is to really incentivize everyone to come together on that day to be able to celebrate, your child's success. So whether you usually train on a Saturday or not, do consider making the bit of the time to come down and see what it's all about, because it's really an amazing day.
Yeah, and then in the evening, we normally take our coaches out for some dinner in the early evening, maybe like 5 o'clock, and then invariably down Street Lane at Hesco, we'll then have an opportunity for anybody from the academy to come and join us for a social, come and have a drink, come connect with some people, make friends, and just be a part of the wider community. So yeah, it's going to be a great day, and I'm excited about it.
As a foreshadow, we've got a banger winter gathering planned as well.
Well, that will be our 5th birthday. So that is a big celebration. So get that one in your diaries right now. That's in December, right? We want to make sure that's as big as possible. We'll probably have to do something that extends the parameters of this building, I think, at some point that day. I'd like to have a big party. Maybe downstairs, we'll see. But it's going to be cool, so make sure you're there.
Okay, I think from this list, maybe the one to tackle will be standards, culture, cleanliness, ice baths, skis, all these kind of things where maybe some of those standards have dropped a little bit.
Well, this is just a perennial thing that we just need to cover, right? So every year at some point we either have to send out a WhatsApp message or we do it on here or whatever. And it's just a reminder to everybody, this is a very tactile hobby, right? We're in very close proximity to each other. And so we need to look after each other. And that starts with the individual, okay? So that means that you need to make sure that before you come to this academy, whatever age you are, whether you're 3 years old or 63 years old, that you've had a wash and that you've cut your fingernails down and cut your toenails down, that you've cleaned your gi since the last time you trained. In fact, you should wash and dry your gi after every time you practice jiu-jitsu. And these are just some basics, right? And it sounds for most people saying, well, yeah, that's obvious. But with 600 students, there's always going to be a number of students who don't do that. And there's nothing worse than going to train with someone and they've got a discoloured, smelly gi and maybe they haven't brushed their teeth that morning or, whatever. And so just make sure, please, that if you're going to come and train here, you've done your best to make sure you're as nice to roll with as possible. We're not afraid to challenge you on that personally. If we need to, privately, we'll do that. But we're hoping that if we just remind you of the standards, that you'll do that. And that extends to the facility too, right? So let's leave this place as you'd wish to find it. So if you go to the toilet, wipe the seat, gents. Or if you take your child to the toilet, make sure you supervise them, make sure you clean up. Quite often I'm taking a mop and bucket to the toilets in there because someone's weed all over the floor. The ice bath, we had to change the whole water system. Shout out to Coach Kev, who looks after our maintenance, who did that for us, because a number of individuals had gone into the ice bath without having a shower first, even though it says it on the kind of Rio room rule book. So please have a shower before you use the ice bath. It's little things like that, right? Just thinking ahead and thinking, okay, if I'm the next person to come and do this, what's it going to be like? And it's on us too. We literally sat down for this podcast and someone had mentioned this before. I think Veronica mentioned this before. And I said to T, I sat down, I was like, we need to change this sofa, mate. We need to get a leather sofa. So, we're constantly reviewing our own standards. I'm looking through the academy here. We've got Alberto, the cleaning legend, who's here every single day, cleans for 2.5 hours, spotless. But it's everyone's responsibility, isn't it, to maintain those standards on cleanliness and hygiene.
Yeah, I hope everyone does feel like they are a part of this place in more than just a transactional way. Like, I always see us as real, I don't want to sound too cliche or anything, but like a real team where we're all trying to make this place best academy, not just to train on Street Lane or Leeds or Yorkshire or UK or anything, but like a real world-renowned place. But that doesn't just happen with me and you trying to create these standards or uphold these standards. That's every single person on their actions every day to make this place a world-renowned place to train.
Yeah, and so that's the individual. And I suppose the other thing to say on that is if you are training with someone who you perhaps think may have missed that for whatever reason, then you could either, if you feel confident enough, speak to that person in a really positive way and try and remind them, or you could bring it to our attention. Particularly if it's a child, we want to know that. From a safeguarding point of view, we want to make sure all our kids are looked after, both here and outside the academy. So if you notice anything that you think you need to bring to our attention, please pass it on to one of our academy managers. But keep doing the great job that you're doing. Let's make sure we uphold those standards.
All right, two things before we finish. One is exciting thing for parents. We've got with that demand curve we are going to add in a new Tiny Champions class on Wednesday at 4 p.m. Very much likely starting August the 1st or whenever the closest Wednesday is to that date. Which is important because right now I don't think there is a currently available place in the Tiny Champions program. So
we're on a wait list for a lot of kids.
Yeah, so if you have a child that is very much soon to be 3, or you know a friend who is trying to get their young kid into jiu-jitsu, then I suggest you try and jump on one of those places quick, because undoubtedly they will go like that and we'll go back to having a waiting list, and then we'll be in the same spot where it's like, oh no, what do we do again? But we're trying our best to make sure there are spaces available, because we want to support as many kids as possible to train jiu-jitsu. So yeah, do drop a message to the team, likely Coach Frosty now.
Yeah, and we're going to broaden out even further. I suppose we're getting to a point where there's still a lot of space for us to grow out into, but we want to first of all get to a 7-day-a-week training program. There's a lot of kids out there. I mean, my kids played rugby and football, so on a Sunday morning they were off doing that, but there's a lot of kids who don't do that. And so we want to create a space for those children to be able to come and be active and physical and connect. And so we're going to try and create a 7-day-a-week program for kids and adults. You can expect to see that in the next 6 to 12 months, I'd suggest. And that will elevate even further our offering, I suppose.
And the last thing, I guess, is a bit of a gift from us to all the members, which is GB Online, right?
Go on. Tell them about it.
Adults will probably know, but parents won't, is that Gracie Barra have a online subscription service that has a full library of thousands of techniques taught by world champion instructors and your Professor Victor and Braulio and Flavio and Cafe. So all these are people who you may or may not have heard of, but are fantastic instructors and give a ton of value on this platform. Now, it's usually like $26, so I don't know, that's £18 or something a month. But we've invested in the academy, we'll just say multiple thousands of pounds per year, to make sure that every single student can have access to that for free on us, parents as well as kids. So what this means is that you can support your jiu-jitsu learning outside of the academy. For GB1 classes especially, you can go in and know what will be taught that day. Obviously it changes a little bit by the time you get to GB3 because it opens up a lot more. But and for the kids curriculum, as Mike mentioned earlier, we run our own, I'd like to say enhanced curriculum, but it can give parents a lot of ideas of the things that kids might want to try at home. So you could watch some of the videos at home and try them with your kid. And I think it'll be an amazing resource for adults, of course, but and parents to better understand jiu-jitsu, because especially for all the parents that don't currently train, of which there are still some.
We'll get you.
Yeah, we'll get you eventually, don't worry. It's hard to know what's going on, and I think some of these, we've obviously tried our best to put a lot of content out as well with things like basic terms and trying to help parents understand what's going on as well. But I think for giving your kids something to watch at home, if you don't want to stick them on YouTube or something, give them some GB Online to watch. And they're putting out a lot of new kids content towards the end of the year as well. So big update from us on that.
Yeah, it's a wonderful thing. I want to shout out to Professor Lewis and the team at Grace Barrett Harrogate who really kind of kicked this off. They were the first ones to approach GB Online and negotiated a way for them to be able to offer it to their students. So, Professor Lewis, you're probably not listening because you're very busy, but if you are, mate, thank you for leading on that. And we basically just jumped on their coattails. And so while we're at the Global Summit in Lisbon, T and I just said, look, we need to do this for our students. So it's a huge investment from us, but I hope you see it as really valuable. For the adults, it's really valuable because it means no matter what learning style you've got, you can either preview the things you're going to learn before you come into class, or you can reflect back on what you've learned and refresh your memory at home. We have a lot of students who film or take notes. Well, you've got that resource now. You can access GB Online via obviously desktop, but there's also an amazing app. It works really well. It's world class. It's really, really cool. But also on top of that, inside GB Online, there's loads of seminars and instructional kind of catalogues around specific techniques or positions, which is like literally you could be researching that forever. It's definitely going to add value. From a parent's point of view, someone with teenage kids who we have to monitor their online presence and the amount of time they spend online. This is an opportunity for you, notwithstanding what Professor T said about sharing jiu-jitsu and watching it together. You know, this is a safe place that they can go online, spend time watching something that isn't TikTok shorts and a load of rubbish. It's actually an educational piece of content that will help them immensely when they come back into the academy. So, you know, negotiate with your child on screen time and maybe allow them some specific screen time for GB Online because they'll get their screen fixed, but at the same time, you know they're watching something really safe and really educational. So that's cool. Do we want to say something about standards for kids and parents? Because there's been a few parents contacted us recently about the kids wanting to finish jiu-jitsu, and we have a saying, don't we, that quite often it's not the kids that quit, it's the parents that quit. And so parents are going to run into this all the time, as I've done with my kids, where, you know, they don't want to come, it's a hot day, they're tired or whatever. Is there any tips and strategies we can give those parents to help them support their kids to stay in the program?
You know me, I'm quite bullish on this. I'm probably not the most supportive because I'm obviously not a parent either, so I struggle to empathise. Yeah. For me, I'm like, you don't negotiate when your kid is like, I don't want to go to school, I don't like it anymore, or or a younger kid, I don't want to brush my teeth today. It's like you enforce the things that you know are going to be important for them. I don't want to look left and right when I cross the road. You don't have that conversation. It never starts. So I think in some way, parents often say, oh, I don't want to force my kid to do anything they don't want to do. But you do. You force them to go to school, you force them to go to look left and right, you force them to do their swimming lessons because you know how important it is. I think oftentimes there's a disconnect between understanding how, like you talked about earlier, how important learning a martial art, whether it's jiu-jitsu or not, like, you know, don't see this as me just trying to sell you on jiu-jitsu, but I think jiu-jitsu is one of the best ones you can do. Is like a vital life skill where you can't be the same person. I don't think you can really be your authentic self unless you are confident enough, well, confident for one, and two, confident in conflict situations, because if I have an opinion that I would like to share, but I'm really nervous that you're going to shoot me down or tell me I'm stupid or that's a rubbish idea, then I don't want that conflict. But as soon as you're someone who's very familiar with conflicts in situations through inoculation, through jiu-jitsu, if you're someone who can manage their stress levels through jiu-jitsu, if you're someone who can make friends through jiu-jitsu, if you're someone who can avoid ever getting into, you know, bad situations because you've lost that ego that a lot of guys have, at least. You know, these are like invaluable life skills. I'm sure you won't mind me saying, I was speaking to Stan about this literally the other day because one of our students, his daughter, was feeling that way, and she's been with us for a very long time. And it's normal for kids to do that. Like, every single kid we've had goes through periods of time for sometimes months where it is a really chore to bring them down. And I think a lot of the times parents don't want to go through, and I appreciate, like, I'm not a parent, I can't speak to how difficult that might be. They don't want to go through that 4 months of crying, I don't want to go, please don't make me go. Or they don't come to us and talk about it so we can help as well. To the point where it's just like, oh, actually, I do like a jiu-jitsu again. I was just having a bad couple of months and I just didn't like that one trip training partner. And
I think that's an important point. So I think a few things I would just say, and we didn't plan to end on this, but I think it's important that we do cover this for parents, because I think a lot of the challenges we hear about are parents trying to make sure that they can fully support their child in jiu-jitsu, because it is hard. Like, jiu-jitsu is really hard on a lot of different levels. I think that the key thing you mentioned there, mate, is to talk to us about it as well. Of course, it's got to start with you as a parent, but we can help identify and unpick the reason why potentially your child might be feeling like they don't want to come. It might be that actually one of their best friends has now moved into the advanced program and they're not with them anymore. So we can help find a pathway for them to go join them in advanced. It might be that they've had a bad situation that we didn't notice on the mat, or maybe you didn't notice, and we can certainly deal with that. So we're here to support you. I think, having got teenage sons now who've been through this whole process and are now doing GCSEs, God, I'm so glad that we were disciplined with them when they said they didn't want to do stuff when they were younger, because they have to do the homework and they have to revise and they have to turn up for their exams if they're going to, get to where they want to be in the future. And I suppose those conversations that you're having with your child now, which can be challenging and difficult, just see the longer term vision here. You're setting your child up for success. You're creating a person who will do hard things and who will push through challenges and has the self-confidence and the self-belief to do difficult things. That's the first thing. And I think the other thing is setting your child up for success. So can you bring them on time? Take the stress out of it. Can you, particularly younger kids, can they go for a wee before they come into class so they're not distracted? There's things you can do as parents to really help your child. Can you sit with GB Online for, 20 minutes once a week and talk through those techniques in a really positive way? There's lots of things you can do. Finally, T, one of the things we get asked a lot from parents is around promotions for kids. Could you just speak to that real quick?
Yeah, just before I do that, I'd say one of the most telling things about, kids quitting is most of the parents who train jiu-jitsu who have kids in the program will just say, I don't really care if my kid wants to quit, like, they're just doing jiu-jitsu. And I think that's like an insight you get from when you are someone who's training jiu-jitsu and you understand how valuable it is, versus when you only can sit on the sidelines and you just watch it as you might see a tennis class or you might see something like that, So I'd encourage, whether, again, not a sales pitch, we encourage we try and make it a lot of incentives for new kids joining to get their parents onto the mat at least once, just to try and understand actually what the kid is going through. Because jiu-jitsu is tough. I have to talk to a blue belt student at least every 2 weeks about how they're sad and they don't feel like they're improving, and jiu-jitsu is really tough and they're thinking about leaving. It's like, that's jiu-jitsu. We're doing difficult things because we're trying to achieve great things at the same time. If it wasn't difficult, it wouldn't have been valuable in the first place. So on the promotion side of things, if parents want to have a better understanding of that, I'll say first and foremost, there's a poster just by the door which gives the 80% of understanding, which is around, for kids, generally if you train twice a week, which is the bare minimum we ask for here, and you come about 8 times in a month, then you'll be due a stripe after at least 30 days and 8 classes of training. Caveat, there'll be times when you might be due a belt, and I might delay that because it's there'll be 3 reasons I could delay that. One, I want to get a little bit more juice from the squeeze. Like, I feel like that kid's got maybe a bit more potential at that belt level. I want to maybe delay them a little bit, so they, especially for some of the the higher belts, when you're going from like a grey and black belt to a yellow belt, that's going to be a big jump, both in, well, in a competitive setting, you go into a new competitive group. And just here at the academy, there's not many, there's literally 2 yellow belts. So you've got a high standard to uphold. That adds a lot of pressure and stress onto kids. Don't necessarily want to do that before they're ready. Other reason might be there's a summer gathering coming up or a winter gathering, and I want to give them a big celebration amongst as many of their peers as possible. And 3, on the more unfortunate side, sometimes they've had a really bad class and they've just not performed the way I know that they can perform that class. And I don't want to reinforce maybe a success on a day that they probably weren't the best version of themselves. So those are, I'd suggest, the 3 main factors for promotions, and the same guidelines that all the other coaches go to as well. So if you're wondering why your kid hasn't been promoted, maybe 1/4 is that if we're running a very busy class and we have 10 promotions, I don't want to take up 10 minutes of class time on a 45-minute class to give promotion, so I may delay it to the next class. So rough rule of thumb, 30 days, 8 classes. If it doesn't happen then, don't stress out, you'll be in the 20%, and it's likely it'll happen in the next few weeks after that.
Awesome. We've danced around lots of different topics, no particular order. This has been more of a conversation with a bit of a framework, so forgive us for that. I think just a quick recap. Prices are changing from 1st July for new members, but not for you guys just yet. You'll get an email and a WhatsApp explaining all that. Hopefully we've done our best job as Alberto tiptoes behind the camera. Look at this cleaning legend. There he is, he goes, he's off to clean the gents. Hopefully we've done our best to explain our rationale around that and why it's needed at this stage. Lots of exciting things coming up, lots of stuff we're doing in the community still. Big one, GB Online. That is a huge investment from us. We want you to utilise that and to use it as an opportunity to get better at jiu-jitsu and the thing that you love. But T, we've got to finish by saying a huge thank you to everybody, right, for being a part of this community. It is because of you we are recognised globally as a world-leading academy and an award-winning academy now, and you should feel proud to be part of this GBRL community, and we're proud as professors of all of you.
Yep, and as we always say, this is just the beginning. Like, when we're a 20-year school, we'll be looking back at 5 years and be like, oh, there was the early days of jiu-jitsu, you know?
Yeah.
All right, okay, until 6 months more time.